Southern Adornments Decor, and I'm here with a dear friend, Miss Bonnie Branim from Whimsical Art Painting Parties. And I wanted to have her on here today to kind of tell her story because she's been one of my members and I've been mentoring her for a little while now. And her business has really grown. She kind of started out doing paint parties. I'll let her kind of tell the story in a minute, but now she's offering something new, which is virtual classes. So if you guys have any questions for Miss Bonnie, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll ask as we go. But Miss Bonnie, would you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tamara, for having me on this morning. I have really enjoyed your groups, and I have enjoyed the friendships that I've made with the people that are in those groups. I started, first I started painting when I was a young lady, about 23 years old, and I had an 18-month-old daughter. And I just found out that I was expecting my second son, and they are now, maybe I shouldn't say how old they are, but they're old enough. And so they were babies, and I was looking for something to do for myself to get away just for a few hours and, do something for my own personal self. And also, I now had two babies, and I needed to add to our income. And my husband, Mike, has always been very supportive of my paint party business, or my painting, and just in general. And he would cut things, and I would paint them. So we were a great team, and we still are. He's listening right over there, and so I took my first class with a lady named Jean when I was just a young bride, just we'd been married a few years. And then I had painted through that first probably 10 or 15 years. And I sold at craft shows. I sold at a lot of schools doing painted shirts. And they would set up my things at the school, and teachers love to wear cute painted clothes. And so I was painting shirts all the time.
I keep waiting for that trend to come back around, by the way. It hasn't come back yet, but I think it probably will.
I still have maybe 2 shirts hanging in the closet just in case. And then I felt like that the Lord had really called me into ministry with children. And I gave some of my painting. I was not selling. I was doing it for fun, and whenever I would, just for creative purposes, and if I wanted to give a gift. And I got out of the painting for probably 20 years, 30 years nearly. 25. Mike said 25. And I didn't paint during that time as a business of any sort. And then after 30 years, I retired from children's ministry. And as I was coming to that point in my life that I knew that it was time to do something new, and Mike retired, I wanted to do a paint party. I had been watching someone who was doing paint parties, and I would come to Mike and I'd say, look, we can do this. We can do this as our job when we retire, and we can do it together, and it'll be so fun. And look at this. She's got 20 people in that picture. And so I was like, I want to do this. And in 2018, we had our first party. It's been 3 years ago. And we were amazed at how quickly people signed up for paint parties. It was amazing. And we were just busy. And then I retired that next year in 2019 and became full-time with our paint parties. And we were clicking. And then 2020 came, and we weren't clicking anymore. We were in the middle of this pandemic, and I was at a paint party the night that the schools here shut down, and people were like, this can't be. And I was like, oh, don't be so worried. This has never happened. And
we all thought it was just going to last a couple of weeks, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So I forgot that part.
Remind me
Um,
where you're at, by the way. Where are you located?
we are in Pineville, Louisiana. If
Louisiana.
you come to Louisiana and you go north and then south and east or west, you've got to cross through the central part of Louisiana. And we are called Sinlaw a lot because we're central Louisiana and we are right smack in the middle.
Okay.
So we started our paint business and I did not know how to make a bow. I am those loopy, pretty bows.
Yes.
I was like,
I still am not good at those.
I cannot do that. And this lady would teach me and she'd say, this is boopity boop. And I was like, mm-mm. And so I got on YouTube and I found your tutorial on YouTube. And I was like, who is this girl?
She doesn't know what she's doing. That was a terrible video.
And I went to you from YouTube. You skip immediately over to Facebook now to see who's who and what in the world. And you were fairly new. I mean, you were just beginning, I guess, on the in the social world, and you were painting at your kitchen table.
Yep.
And you had a little girl that reminded me so much of my daughter when I was your age. And I would paint and she would paint, sit around my feet and she would play with my paint bottles and line them up and they would be pretend people. And I would paint all day, painting shirts or whatever wood product I was working on. And she would play at my feet with my paint bottles and pretend that they were little characters. And so seeing you as that young mother and your little girl was like, that's who I was. And so I identified with you so much through that. And I signed up for your boot camp. Well, you later, I think, named it boot camp, but I think it was Paint Party Biz Group.
I can't remember. Yeah.
And I watched that and I followed everything that you did. And if you changed, I changed. And so I think that's where we grew our business in that first year of doing paint parties was following, if you bought a basket, I bought a basket. If you had if you changed to this, I changed to this. So that's, we followed you and found you on Facebook and joined up at just the perfect time because we were retiring and retirement is not enough to pay the bills and live like you wanted to and like you were living before. So you need that extra income to keep going exactly like you wanted to. You want to retire, but you don't want to retire and do nothing. That's not any fun. And so I was looking for that extra money for the fun things of life that, traveling or whatever, and just continue our lifestyle as it had been. So that's where I found you on YouTube and I hooked up immediately and you just happened to be starting that. Like, I think I joined in January. I mean, I found you in January and you started that in February. It was like right on track.
So there's a couple of things that I wanted to point out that Miss Bonnie was talking about. So first of all, she found me through YouTube. So for those of you watching, if you have a business online and you're wanting to grow an online presence, that video she found me through was actually my very first Facebook Live where I was just showing a simple how to make a bow. And I'm sure so many of you guys have already seen that video because it is to this day my most viewed video on YouTube. And it was about 5 to 7 minutes long, I think. All I did was I propped my phone up against something and I hit record. The phone fell over at least twice during the video. I was so nervous. I was like, hey guys, I'm just going to show you how to make a boat. I wasn't as animated as I am now and as confident on video back then. And I just took it from Facebook, downloaded it, put it on YouTube, and linked it to my Facebook page so that if people saw it, they could come find me on Facebook. And Bonnie, you are probably one of 1,000 people who have told me I found you through that video. So your videos do not have to be highly produced. They don't have to be, they just have to be helpful. This was one helpful bow video that has brought so many of you to find me here. And like Bonnie said, it was just the right time. And at that time, I was also offering coaching on how to start a paint party business. And I remember, Miss Bonnie, you told me that somebody you knew a couple of hours away from you was doing paint parties, but you were nervous to ask her, you know, some advice on how to get started because you were afraid she wouldn't like share what she knew. Because that was kind of the culture back then. Nobody was sharing or teaching what they knew, right?
And I didn't ask her. I mean, she might have
me
all the information, but I didn't feel like I could just call her up and say, hey, I want to, or hey, you know, I know that
this is what we used to do.
If you're old enough to do it like this, now you do this. I tried it with my grandkids. It's true. So I didn't ever call and ask her. Maybe she would have, but you were giving it, and I thought, well, this is the perfect time. And you know, we're not one to jump in groups, and you know, I'm not ever. I just felt like that was the right thing to do.
And the other thing you said was that you related to me because I had Charlie in my videos. I know a lot of people are afraid to do Facebook Lives because their kids are running amok in the house, and they're afraid to show their kids on video because they think it's going to look unprofessional or silly. But Charlie, there was no doing videos without Charlie unless she was taking a nap. And so if she came up and started talking in the middle of my video, that's just the way it was. But unintentionally, it made it real. I didn't realize at the time it was helping my audience relate to me as a mother. And even though you were past that point, it had been years since your daughter had been that age, you saw yourself in me. Right. And so you felt a connection to me, which then helped you trust me to be your mentor. It just takes those little things, you know, to help people connect to you.
Yeah. And one thing I'm doing right now is I've hired somebody to put all of my videos from my Facebook onto YouTube.
Wonderful.
So that's I know that's how I found you, and that's what I need to do. And I did about 5, and I was like, this is taking me forever. And so I hired somebody that will do it. And she's kind of working on building a business of herself to do social media for people. So she's kind of a freebie right now. We're both she's freelance and more on free.
Wonderful. So kind of tell us, like you said, after we kind of paused your story. So during 2020, the paint parties in person had to go shut down because, as you guys know, the whole nation got shut down. So how did you pivot to be able to keep your business alive?
Well, we did a few things. We sold kits to kids. We would ship, everything in a kit for them to paint at home. And we did a workshop online, and we always wanted to move this to virtual just because we didn't want to travel around and do the parties. And I knew that, we needed to do that. Plus it opens up the world, or at least the United States.
Larger customer base.
And we always wanted to do that, but it took off so fast with the parties that we were really not having time to, nor did I have the knowledge, but I didn't have the time to think, how am I going to make this virtual? At that point in time, we were painting almost every weekend. And so we moved to some virtual workshops that we did where I would teach. I trained with brush strokes and how to use your paintbrush to do brush strokes that would do your shading and would do your highlighting and how to make flowers. And it was all taught to me through your paintbrushes, or what does the work. You turn them a certain way, you flatten them a certain way, you use this brush for a certain way. And so I taught a workshop that was 4 weeks, and they did one project every week, and we learned a new brush stroke each week and used it on that product that pattern that the design would go along with the brush stroke. So we did that, and in September of 2020, we started mantle makeup. And I've been kind of concerned that I named it wrong because people say I don't have a mantle, but it is mantle makeup is 3 pieces of painted projects that you can do at home. And the paint projects the blanks are sent to you, and 3 days of the month I paint and I teach each one. Here's an example.
Yeah, we would love to see.
This is April, and so I'm teaching the brush strokes through the pieces. So this is, I'm going to just do it that way because
that's beautiful.
I can't figure out where my camera is. Okay.
You're right in the middle. You're good.
Okay, this is our April door hanger. I mean, not door hanger, mantle makeup, or you can put it on a tabletop. It is not just for your mantle. You can put it on a tabletop. It comes with a stand, and it's just got a thing. Yeah, and you can paint that stand over and over to match. And so it will stand. I know you can't quite see that, but it will stand in that. And that's one piece. At the beginning, when you sign up, you get 3 of those stands. So that you just drop them down in there. We're painting a bunny tonight, and it is the buffalo plaid. And last night we painted, because this is the days that we're doing our 3 pieces. And so we painted Easter eggs, and we learned how to do grass, and I teach them those brush strokes during that time. But we also are doing workshops, and our workshop, and that's what I really wanted to talk about, is we are doing a workshop this month, March 25th, and we are painting a spring door hanger, and it is this one. And I showed it, and I got so many comments in the I think it was in
Painters Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there is a ton of brush strokes, and obviously there's a ton of painting, but there's a ton of specific brush strokes that you can use and to make these little daisies. And
they just pop. They really draw your eye. When you look at the whole thing, my eye goes straight to those little yellow daisies.
The daisies are done with a number 8 round brush, and it's press down, twist, and take off. And so when you take off, you come up to the tip of your paintbrush where there is no, you can't see it because it's covered up.
Yeah.
But it comes to that very tip where it's how you do a comma also. And then, the roses I learned from you. I had learned in those classes the other, I think we learned that one time in Painters Clubhouse to make those roses. I did those. Those were something that I learned in those classes. But we are teaching this workshop in one night. It'll take about probably 3 hours to paint through it, but it'll be saved, and you can go back and paint it as you go along as you have time. And you'll learn, how to use a shading brush, how to use a round brush to make flowers, how to shade the flowers. And my favorite are those little dots at the top.
Yep. I love those.
They're so simple, but they look complicated.
Yep.
So that is the truck that we're painting in our workshop this month. And
everybody in the comments are saying your flowers are beautiful.
Thank you. So there's a certain way you can make leaves using your paintbrush, and how to shade the edges all in one stroke. You don't have to add the shading. You double load your brush. And these things I was taught 40 years ago almost. And
I think it's a painting technique that kind of like not became lost or forgotten about, but people just, they just stopped using it, or maybe when social media came about, it was all the young folks who hadn't learned it, I don't know, but you guys are bringing it back. And so I'm excited about it.
Well, I remember, even one time I was listening to you and you were saying shading is not something I've learned.
Yeah,
And,
it's not.
That was 3 years ago. And I was like, well, there's my niche. There's our niche, whatever you want to call that word. That's what I can teach that I've learned. And like I said, I took a break. Oops, sorry. I took a break for 20 years, but I had learned those strokes back in 1981.
And you said it was like riding a bike or muscle memory. It just came right back.
It's muscle memory. It is totally muscle memory. And of course, you've got to practice. But once you've got that feel, it comes back to you and you can still use it. If you learn it today and you're 23, you can use it when you're my age. And I won't say. But it's been a long time.
Glenda says that's how I learned, and she used folk art painting class with stroke.
Yeah, Tole, Tole was that in folk art, but it was Tole, and that's just using brush strokes. And I didn't learn every single one of them. There's a lot of different strokes, and it can be very intricate. And if you look it up, it might be like, oh, that's old stuff, but it is shading. It is highlighting. It is all those things that takes it from a color book to
it gives dimension. Yeah, it gives it some more dimension. Like I said, those yellow flowers kind of pop, and it almost looks layered, like the flowers are coming forward at you.
Yeah, and that's one thing I teach too, and especially at parties, people will so often say to me, "Do I put the outline on first?" And no, you don't. You put the base on first, and then you layer everything up, and those lines that you see are last, and you're going to come back over the top of those. So yeah, it is layered. I do teach how to layer something. Think of what's coming in here first and second and third and fourth. So.
Danielle says, my mother-in-law had a Tole paint shop, and she taught me some of the strokes, but I had forgotten. She said it does set you apart from the fly color book style of painting. She said, I love it. Well, if you guys are interested in learning how to paint those flowers from Miss Bonnie, you can sign up right now for her truck painting class on her Facebook page, Whimsical Art Painting Parties. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yep. And how much is the class again?
It's $15. And it will be your digital design and your tutorial. If you need the blank also, then that's an extra 10. Plus shipping. So, about probably 20.
Yep. And then, of course, she's got her mantle makeup. If you like the idea of having 3 little blanks shipped to you every month and learning how to paint those, you can incorporate them into your seasonal decor, even if you don't have a mantle. I think they would be cute just sitting on the top of like a china cabinet or, a hall table or something like that, anywhere that you decorate regularly. So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Bonnie. This was lots of fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I've enjoyed meeting you, and you have changed a lot of people's lives, and we're glad that you are using your gifts.
Thank you. I'm glad to be able to pass them on, and I'm glad you've got Mike back there in the background. Hello, Mike.
Hey.
I'm glad you've got him helping you out. That's great. All right. Well, we will let you go for today. If you want to learn more from Miss Bonnie, go follow her at Whimsical Art Painting Parties on Facebook, and we will see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.